Hey everyone, Action here. In this video we'll be covering all the steps from the period the Ascension, going all the way from the situation start to remodeling our own genes to perfection. This Ascension is my new favorite one, it's so strong, and if you pick the same path as I did, you will have basically immortal leaders, perfect habitability everywhere, massive amounts of pop efficiency and pop growth, whilst also having some reductions to empire size. It's an all-rounder Ascension, really perfect. My command calls out for 5,000 commanders to replenish our ranks after the recent losses. Our navy needs you, commander, to help us fight the countless enemies that threatens our own existence. Enlist today and be a part of something greater. Now the first pick here is definitely gonna be the mutation, so we're gonna have the flexible tradition set to the mutagenic habitability. Now this trait right here, in my opinion, is the best trait in the game. It can grant you plus 25% job efficiency across the board, on top of housing and amenities usage reduction, which is always very useful. However, to start making actual progress towards it, we need to first build up our genomic research facilities, and let me tell you, my friends, that is not cheap, 800 minerals each. So because of this, what we are gonna pick as our next agenda is actually gonna be the departmental efficiency, so all of our counselors have a little more EXP gain. In our planets, we can stop focusing on the unity a little bit and start shifting up a little more towards the technologies. And as always, although we have the necessary unity to pick another tradition, what we are gonna do is wait out until we finish the biomorphosis situation so we can adopt and finish up the purity tradition instantly. Now that we do have available jobs, we can actually remove the automaton monument since we won't be having any civilians anytime soon. And right now our economy is slowly getting some traction. Our research is already improving by a lot, especially in the society department, but that usually happens to be the case for biology Ascension empires, since we have the genomic research facilities. Here on our biomorphosis situation, we have the tipping point, and that is when we need to have the gene tailoring technology, a much more expensive one than the gene modding. So I usually tend to grab the heightened attributes because on top of the job efficiency we're gonna get, we also have a minus 10% empire size from pops, which is very good. The other options are also valid, but none of them reduces our empire size, which is the main problem later on into the game. And if you have followed on from the previous video, you already know that we are going for a very long late game playthrough, so with this we wanna maximize all the options that are good in the later stages of the game. Now that we have researched the genome mapping, we can launch the agenda and it will give us progress towards the gene tailoring. So now what we can do is just shift our technology research to gene tailoring, and bam! Now we are already halfway through the technology. As for our next agenda, we have basically run out of good agendas. The best one we can grab at this point would be the strong on our own, which will give us more stability and a little bit of pop growth speed. Oh, arc furnace technology, this is huge. Although it's gonna take us 10 years to finish, after we bio-ascend, that time is gonna be reduced by a lot, since we're gonna be shifting our production to all types of research, not only society. And one thing that I always recommend you do is never build these mega structures before you ascend, because they take up so much unity that is essential for you to ascend earlier on. Arturian, my friend, welcome. You once again. We don't even care about trust caps, so that is not even a negative modifier. A very good admiral to have. Let's hire you. And at the same time we finished the contact with the United Finnish Coalition, but we do not have any desires to establish any further communications with them. Atherion is a much more fitting commander for us than Rezikax, which has a negative effect that reduces our monthly unity by 5%, so let's replace him for Atherion for the time being. Nah man, but our other commander got a negative of plus 5% empire size from pops. What? The worst traits ever to have on our console, but okay. We can just shift this guy out of the console later on, because right now the empire size from pops is only increasing our tech cost by plus 1%, which is minimal. Now that we have the gene tailoring technology, we can finally resume our biomorphosis situation. Here on the Kartox world it is a size 17, so quite a large world. What we can do is already start building up a research enclave here, so we have those research jobs available. Oh, weird science event, a rogue geneticist by the name of Kardux has been found conducting unsanctioned biological experiments, so we can actually remove this rogue from their post, and Kardux is forcibly retired. And what does Kardux have? Plus 5% empire size from pops modifier. So you are gone, my friend. Let's hire another good leader. We don't have any good ones at the moment, but perhaps we can utilize Rezikax for the time being, a level 5, and he's an admiral, so he has a good use in our fleet. He's not a counselor though. Evolutionary crossroads, we can choose each one of these 3 paths once again, but for this one I'd rather have the cloning, since it gives us the backup clones, which means that whenever our leaders die from old age or whenever they died from, they will respawn as a leader again, but this time a little bit weaker. They will have a less lifespan and also one less level than before, but this will effectively make them immortal. In my opinion, it is the best choice here. And this time our Celestial Empress Xerax got the negative trait, reducing our monthly unity by minus 5%. Ah man, we are so lucky with these negative traits. All of our counselors basically got a negative at this point, just the Rezikax that we can change, but the other 2 negatives are kinda okay, just reduction in trust cap, and well, now our last counselor member also got a negative trait, minus 5% happiness, so perhaps this is the maximum number of negative traits they can have, thankfully. What I didn't think about doing before was activating all of our resource edicts, since we have so much edict fund because of every bonuses that we have, so it's pretty easy to activate them all and skyrocket our economy. Our cloning technology is fantastic. It will allow us to build the clone vats, which is one of the best buildings to have in the game, and since we are bioascending, we'll have tons and tons of food production. The path taken. Finally, we finished the biomorphosis situation. Let's grab the purity, right? And with that, let's also grab the traits. We go first with the heightening attributes to reduce our empire size from pops. We let the month pass and it reduces our unity cost a little bit further. Now it's only gonna take us 3 months before we finish the entire tradition. Fantastic. Now we are gonna go and change our authority to the biotic dominion, and first, what we're gonna do is reform our government once we have the necessary unity. In the meantime, we can actually modify our species to have the best traits. However, one thing that you must know is that for the purity tradition, all of the traits are actually a little bit cheaper for us, meaning we can grab erudite, fertile for instance, and robust, and they actually only cost 3 points each, whereas they would cost 4. However, they count as the full value for the calculation on our authority, so it is actually double the effectiveness here. These are the traits you're gonna utilize: fertile, robust, erudite, docile, natural mechanists, and sedentary and repugnant. Since if we require some amenities, we can just build the luxury residences, which are basically an infinite amount of amenities. And it's only gonna take us a little bit more than 2 years to finish it up. Hello Commander, if you're enjoying my content, please consider being a part of our higher ranks and financially supporting the growth of our navy. Depending on your contribution, contribution, you'll have access to different sections of our military, being able to command an entire fleet and up to a whole sector in our live streams. That will happen almost every weekend. With every contribution, the Empire grows stronger and you, Commander, will help us shape the future of our universe. As our next Ascension perk, we will start making progress towards the Cosmogenesis, which has been changed. Now you have a planetary limit on the amount of Fallen Empire buildings you can have. If you didn't know about that, you can check out one of our videos where we cover this up and the implications of all the changes that patch 4.0.14 brought upon the game. Now that we have the necessary unity, we can reform our government to the eugenic hierarchy, and what it's gonna do is improve our job efficiency by 2.5% for every positive point is spent on our species traits. That was what I was saying to you about the traits. There are some traits that only cost as 3 points, however they count as 4 because they are cheaper for empires that ascend with the purity tradition. So let's go do that, and by just reforming the government, we first go ahead and obviously shift our counselors, make them up and running again. Now we do have a pretty low amount of species genetic perfection, only giving us plus 5% efficiency. However, once we finish the species modification, you're gonna see the difference. Now that we have ascended, we can start building up our megastructures, starting with the arc furnace obviously, and later on building up some Dyson swarms. Now that we have finished the modifications to our species, let's just see their efficiency. Yeah. Look at this insanity. It went up from plus 5% to plus 30% from only the species genetic perfection, not even accounting for the special traits. So it is quite bonkers, my friends. And all of our counselors gained the genetic purist, giving us plus 70% council agenda speed each, which means that within only 13 months we can launch an agenda. So yeah, it gets kind of insane, this Ascension, my friends, and later on we'll be scaling this up even harder. We are still at only 40 years into the game and we already have all of these modifiers being applied to our pops. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, don't forget to leave that like button, and as always I will see you guys next time.